ただ一つ確か成果しか。
Welcome back to Gabriel Talks Gundam, and today we are going over 5 suits. Sort of. Last time we discussed MSO5 Zaku 1 and the MSO4 Bagu and their history. Today we will be discussing the MSO6A, MSO6C, and MSO6F Zaku 2, and the RCX-76-02 Guncannon First Type, RTX-65 Guntank Early Type, and the Guntank itself. And with that being said, this will be a longer episode, so grab yourself a drink and some snacks and enjoy. In its military buildup for the anticipated war against the Earth Federation, the Principality of Zeon's military was hard at work, making an improved version of its first combat-capable mobile suit, the MSO5B Zaku 1. The first of Zeonic Company's new model was the MSO6A Zaku 2, and was completed in August of UC 0077 at the Zoom City factory and saw the introduction of external power cables and other little improvements over the old Zaku 1. The Type A underwent mock combat training from December UC 0077 through January UC 0078. Project Director Cecilia Zabi declared the MSO6A insufficient and more improvements were needed and were made, leading to the mass-produced MSO6C and MSO6F models. Many of the MSO6A models used for testing were later upgraded to the MSO6C version. Following the failure of the improved but still inadequate MSO6A Zaku 2, Zeonic Company went back to the drawing board and improved their new Zaku model even more and produced the MSO6C. Among the improvements made on the Type C were the addition of spikes on the left shoulder and a shield mounted on the right shoulder. Being rolled out in January UC 0078, the Type C was approved and became Zeon's main mobile suit, serving for at least a full year through the early stages of the One-Year War. It received several minor revisions labeled Type C5 and Type C6. By February UC 0079, the Type C was upgraded into the new MSO6F, or Type F, and continued to be Zeon's standard frontline unit through the end of the war. Introduced early during the One-Year War as a replacement for the MSO6G Zaku 2, the Type F was the most heavily mass-produced version of the Zaku 2 line and served as the main suit of the Zeon military. It was the Type F that was also the most well-known version of the Zaku suits. Although fully capable of operating on Earth, the Type F was designed primarily for space combat, but did see limited use in Earth-based ground combat. A nearly identical variant, the Type J, was designed and employed as a ground combat unit. Later in the war, the Zeonic Company rolled out an upgraded version, the MSO6F2 Zaku 2F2. Many Type Fs survived the war and remained in service as part of Hamon Karn's Neo-Zeon forces during the First Neo-Zeon War in UC 0088. These units were upgraded with some of the latest technology, including 360-degree panoramic monitors in the cockpit, and the Zaku 2 and its variants would first be seen in the original 1979 Mobile Suit Gundam series. The Zaku 2 and its variants could and would carry a 120mm machine gun being drum-fed and had 100 rounds per drum, with spare drums being stored on waist armor racks. A 280mm Zaku bazooka with the typical 4-round magazine and can be stored on the rack on rear waist armor. The second version of the Heat Hawk that could be stored on waist armor racks, and the ASR-78 anti-ship rifle. The RTX-65 Guntank Early Type was a main battle tank rolled out in UC 0065 by the Earth Federation forces. The Guntank's design was more advanced than a traditional tank. It was deployed to colonies for peacekeeping operations. The Guntank's main weapon was 2 large caliber cannons mounted on each shoulder. It was also equipped with a pair of 4-barrel autocannons on its arms that could be used for both anti-ground and anti-air combat. It was also armed with a 3-barrel machine gun and smoke discharges. In UC-0068 young Casval Rem Daikun seized control of a Guntank during an attempt that was being made to smuggle him out of Side 3, and he briefly used the captured Guntank to destroy another Guntank unit. By UC-0078, the EFF was deploying the RCX-7602 Guncannon First Type with the intention of making it the new main battle tank, or MBT. However, the Guncannon performed poorly against Zeon's MS-05 Zaku-1 during the Battle of Marish Minathi, what we see in Gundam The Origin. In UC-0065, the Earth Federation forces rolled out the RTX-65 Guntank early type as a new main battle tank. The RTX-65 was more advanced than the Type 61 tank and fused a human-like torso with a tank body. However, over the course of the next decade, the EFF fell behind the Principality of Zeon in mobile suit research and scrambled to catch up. In UC-0075, the EFF developed the experimental RTX-44, which became the basis of the RX-75-4 Guntank. The RX-75-4 included several improvements over its predecessor, such as the core block system, which housed the FFX-7 core fighter in the torso to serve as an escape craft for the primary pilot. If the Guntank's top half was ejected to release the core fighter, it could continue to function as a stationary gun emplacement. Like the earlier RTX-65, the Guntank had two pilots, a driver in the torso and a gunner in the head. The Guntank's armaments included two 180mm cannons mounted on its shoulders, plus a pair of 4-tube missile launchers mounted as its arms. On September 18th, UC-0079, Zeon Ace pilot Shar Aznavour attacked the Side 7 space colony where Operation V mobile suits were secretly under development. A surviving Guntank was transferred to the assault carrier White Base, along with the RX-77-2 Guncannon and RX-78-2 Gundam. As the White Base traveled across Earth, the Guntank was modified to allow the primary pilot to serve as both driver and gunner in the head-based cockpit. The Guntank performed well enough for the EFF to produce the RX-75 Guntank mass production type, which was deployed to Southeast Asia and other fronts against Zeon. The variant RTX-440 assault Guntank saw combat in Europe during Operation Odessa. A troop-carrying variant was also deployed during Operation Star One as part of the invasion of the space fortress at Bawaku. After the one-year war, the EFF rolled out the RMV-1 Guntank II, which saw use for several decades. The Guntank also inspired the design of the later D-50C Loto, which could transform from a tank into a fully humanoid form. The first time this suit would be seen would be in the original Mobile Suit Gundam. The RCX-7602 Guncannon First Type was developed by Anaheim Electronics as a successor to the RTX-65 Guntank early type. Despite its human-like shape, the Guncannon was given the same main battle tank classification as the Guntank. The Guncannon's humanoid design mirrored similar developments within Zeon. The Guncannon was intended to be more versatile than the Guntank, and its three-finger claws could be changed with different armaments depending on the mission. The RCX-7602's design was based on data from two evaluation units, the RCX-7601A and RCX-7601B. The units used by the Iron Cavalry Squadron were equipped with low recoil cannons, two Vulcan guns, a Gatling gun, and rifle. In UC-0078, the Iron Cavalry Squadron engaged Zeon in history's first mobile suit battle at Marish Minathi on the moon's surface. The Guncannon First Type had a disastrous showing against Zeon's MS-05 Zaku-1. As a result, developer Tim Ray pushed the EFF to allow him to develop the RX-78-2 Gundam. The first appearance for fans would be in Gundam The Origin. As the Earth Federation forces began their own mobile suit development project, one of their earliest efforts was the RX-75-4 Guntank. Although it had a mobile suit body, head, and arms, it did not have a mobile suit's walking legs, being mounted instead on a tread-driven tank-like base. It also lacked manipulator hands, and in a sense, the Guntank was more of a traditional tank than a mobile suit. However, the EFF decided to put the unit into mass production. The RX-75 Guntank mass production type was quite similar to the prototype version, although the most notable difference was the removal of the expensive and complicated core block system. Although the loss of the core fighter reduced the pilot's chances of bailing out alive, it did allow the body to be built to perform a torso twist, thus making the Guntank's upper body able to turn to face different targets, while its drive base continued traveling in one direction. The mounts for the shoulder cannons were also made universal, capable of mounting different types of cannons, weapons, or other equipment. Some of these mass production types served in the One-Year War, particularly as the part of the Kojima Battalion in Southeast Asia. Some were refitted for armored recovery and had their artillery cannons replaced by crane arms and a dozer blade attached to the drive base. The first appearance for this behemoth would be in the show The 08th MS Team. And this has been the third episode of Gabriel Talks Gundam. If you liked this episode, please consider liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification to not miss the next episode. Next time we will be discussing the many variants of Zaku 2s in the Universal Sentry and the Guncannon. And until then, keep your mono eye glowing and your cannons ready. And this has been Gabriel Talks Gundam.